Yeah, baby, back on the Cooligans.
Oh, look at this. All right, we're still here at the Adidas Predator booth.
We ain't leaving.
with LBF.
With LBF. You didn't even let me finish.
Oh, my fault, my fault.
That's the thing, is that Alexis cuts me off at every single moment.
Yeah, and now you're doing it, so it ain't just me. You know?
But we are here, with Live, Breathe Football, and it's just a great group of guys. But the main person, the man in charge. I mean, I'm not. You know, I hope it's accurate. I don't want to. I don't know.
We have no idea. We didn't look at the org chart before we started.
I don't know if there's a silent partner who has some influence.
Yeah.
But no, we are here of Live, Breathe Football.
Yes,
We're
sir.
here with Ebun.
Ebun, baby.
What's up, fellas?
What's good, man?
Dude, you are making major moves. We were on your show, about like 8 months ago?
Yeah, about that. Yeah,
You were making some big moves. We were there right as you were getting started with the Sporting Kansas City,
yeah.
which went wild.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that feel to see something that you worked hard? Because, like, as comics, we say something and then we hear right away.
Right, it's instant
so for
feedback.
you, there's a bit of a delay.
Yeah.
You have wait for production. You ask your friends what it looks like. How did it feel to see everyone just love it?
I mean, it was surreal, right? Because when you're creating it, right, you're so immersed in it, sometimes you lose perspective.
Right.
And then you go, okay, well, we spent all this time. I just hope people like it, right? Like, you can do all that work and people are like, eh. But then instead they were like, oh, my God, this is amazing. And that's kind of really opened the door for more awesome things that we're working on. So, yeah, it's definitely an awesome time to be part of the LBF crew.
So,
that's for sure.
And Live, Breathe Football, maybe you can talk a little bit about its the inception of it. I mean, for me, look, there's a lot of, like, dope Instagram accounts, and there's soccer clothes, there's that soccer hype beast sort of culture,
soccer boy swag, starter kits, you know,
little Gucci gang. All right, we know about it.
We know all about it.
But it feels different. There's I mean, you guys are from Philly, and how did this begin? Because I know not only I worked in fashion for a little bit.
I remember the stories.
So
my dude was working for Sean Jean.
Yo,
so
take that.
So I kind of saw how it worked behind the scenes, but what is it like for a soccer streetwear brand?
I mean, it's been a long time coming, right? So we're pretty much going into our 7th year in business, right? I started this when I was a junior in college, right? It was my 21st birthday, so I had no idea what I was doing.
Was this like a class project? Or?
No, it was just like I turned 21 and I was like, yo, I don't want to graduate.
I'm going to be a mogul right now.
Right, I don't want to work
Quick,
for anyone
get me
else.
a fur coat. We don't have one. Just wait. Just wait, I'm going to get one.
Yo, where's the Ferrari at? But no, I kind of started because, like, you know, I remember at the time there was really nothing fashionable for, like, soccer, right? And the issue for me was, right, this beautiful game that we all love so much, that has so much color, so much culture, and so much potential, it just wasn't represented in the products that I saw out there, right? There was no Ralph Lauren for soccer, right? There was no, like, there was no Stone Island. There was no cool brands that were, like, just inspired by soccer. So I was like, yo, I'm going to make that. I'm going to make the stuff that, like, I like wearing, but, like, has that soccer twist and that inspiration behind it. And back then, you know, we didn't, everything that happened now with the soccer, with Instagram, soccer hype beast, all that, none of that existed when we started,
no,
right?
That's way
So we just kind of started, and, like, obviously it took some time for people to really understand the concept, but, like, I'm glad to really see where, like, the whole, not even just us, but, like, the whole entire soccer culture, the Instagram, the whole vibe, I'm happy to see where it's gotten to.
And what's the response, what has the response been from the other, like, because when you think of streetwear brands, you immediately associate it with, like, hip hop, basketball.
Yeah. Your Supremes and all of
that.
that.
But I'm sure what's been happening is that the people who are fans of that part of the culture, of even of other sports, are looking at LBF and like, oh, yo, this is kind of fly. Why? How come I don't see this in my neighborhood?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, for me, one of the things I love most about doing our brand is when people who don't like soccer be like, yo, that's dope. Because it's one thing for people who like soccer to love your stuff. It's another thing for people to just be like, that's just cool, period.
That's
you know
just generally cool.
Yeah. And that's really what, like, lets us know, okay, we've got something cool here. Like, let's really expand on that and let that keep growing.
We've been huge proponents of LBF.
Yeah.
And you guys have been big supporters of ours. And I think the reason why is we are the same exact sort of company, same thought process in different realms.
100%.
We want, when people who don't like soccer laugh at our jokes about MLS or whatever's happening or Europe, we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, they're feeling us. Like, we're trying to expand. We're trying to show the rest of the world, look at all the cool stuff that does happen in soccer. You're doing it from, like, the clothing perspective. We're trying to show people, look how much fun this is. Look how funny this is.
Right.
And I don't know that we could have done it in a vacuum.
Right.
And now we're both in this world. We're like Instagram, all this. So many more people are shining a light into what some of the similar things we do. So now it's like we're all, but you guys are just taking off on another level. I mean, you know, this is beautiful. You have this whole Predator setup. If you guys happen to be in Philly, you saw it. If not, I mean, you got local artists. You do it for Philly.
Right.
We always talk about, we joke around saying we're doing it for the culture, right? You actually are doing it for the culture. You could have gone to LA. You could have gone to New York.
Right.
You do it for Philly. You care about Philly. Why?
You know, Philly has such an amazing energy, right? And it's like people just need to see that, right? LA has Hollywood and all that, right? New York is just New York, right? New York is just dope, period, right? Yeah. But it's like Philly's cool. Philly has its own energy to it, and like a few people have made it out of Philly to the, you know, Meek Mill's from Philly. Like Meek Mill is as authentic and as real as you can ever get.
Free Meek Mill.
Free Meek, by the way.
They dropped the case, yo. Let him out.
But that's the thing for us is like, you know.
Hold on a second. Don't free Beanie. The streets are safer now without him, yeah.
Shout out to the whole State Property family.
Shout out to Beans, I love you.
But no, you know, like this is where we're from, and this is where the inspiration from the brand comes from, and it's important that like we stick to that, because once you leave somewhere else, you're trying to like chase something, right? And like sometimes you get lost in that. It's like I think what we have here is amazing, and I want to build on that. You know,
that's awesome.
One question I wanted to ask, because when you start a soccer streetwear brand, I can imagine similar when we started a comedic soccer podcast. People were like, you know, in the comedy world was like, you gonna talk about soccer? Like, what are you gonna? We got 10 minutes, and then the podcast is over.
Right.
What was the response? I'm sure there must have been not necessarily haters, but people that were skeptical of the idea of a soccer streetwear brand. What were some of the negative things that you heard?
So I remember there's a website called Nike Talk, right, that I used to go on when I was a kid, right? This is when like the hundreds first started, like all these brands that are big now, like I saw when they kind of
That's
used to be
how
on
people
Nike
found out
Talk.
about exclusives back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I posted the first LBF shirt that we did, and someone was like, yo, why would you limit it to soccer? And that question baffled me so much. I'm like, bro, it's the biggest sport in the world.
Limit to soccer.
Right, like there's more soccer fans in the world than Christians or Muslims.
Yeah, that's
period.
like saying where you're going to find
It's the biggest
sunlight.
religion in the world. Exactly. It's like, why? Yeah, so for
Yeah.
us, it was like, what do you mean? So for me, it's just been like, it makes sense to me, and that's kind of what inspires me. It's like, okay, this makes sense to me, and let me see if anyone else has the same, you know, feeling about this thing. And so far, I think we've proved that people care about a soccer streetwear brand, you know?
Dude, you're in a lot. You know, pants, those joggers and stuff I got, they're amazing. The Maestro jacket, you've got clothing, hats, you do capsule launches almost for brands like Sporting Kansas City. What is next for you guys? Where do you see the brand taking off? Is that fur coat coming? Is there an LBF fur coat? Like, what do you see? What do you see for yourself next?
So I think there's 3 phases to the brand, really, and you know, you kind of touched on all of them. The first one is really continuing to innovate on product. Like when I first started, the first LBF shirt was printed on like a $2 envelope. It was black. You washed it, it became gray, right? Yeah. And then for me, it was like, okay, let's find better blanks. And then now it's like we're making our own fabrics, and I don't think people understand just how difficult that is. Like the latest collection is completely like not just cut and sew. Like we're milling the fabrics from scratch. Like we're saying we want this much cotton, we want this much polyester. Like we're making that from scratch. So really pushing the product innovation from that perspective. The second thing is, you know, our brand was born on social media, but for me, what really like makes LBF is like seeing people and having people come out and experience the brand in a very like real way. So that's the second facet. And the third facet is like this Adidas thing where we can be like an experienced design company and say, look, we're creative dudes, period. Like we don't limit that creativity to just clothing or just, you know, having tournaments. It's like, yo, Adidas can call us and say, yo, let's do something cool. And we can say, yo, we have artists in Philly, we have local DJs, we have the capabilities to build out a space that, in my opinion, is the best, you know, activation space in its entire convention, simply because like that's what's in our mind, and we just kind of have to figure out how to get it done. So for me, that's really what's next, is to keep going down this path and saying, look, there's dope events you can do besides just like, oh yeah, let's have a little tournament, let's have some soccer balls. Like, no, like really give people that experience and mix streetwear, mix culture with soccer.
Yeah,
you know?
and it is interesting because, and I know you do a lot. You do a lot of work with like either youth academies. I see you on your Instagram and stuff like that. What do you feel is your duty or responsibility, especially now that the brand is growing, to almost grow the sport of soccer in itself?
It's funny you asked that question because Danny and I, one of our guys, were talking about this last night, And for me, it's to really change the complexion of soccer in America, right?
Literally,
I mean that as literally as possible, right?
I want some Babalu drums out there.
Because think about it, right? We all watch the game. The game we all fell in love with. We're Arsenal fans, right? You know, like we're fans of the game.
Everton over here, right, bro.
But even Everton, right? Like you watch our favorite soccer players are Hispanics and black people, and like sometimes white people. Like there's sort of a very like mixed,
diverse,
very diverse like look to the game, and then you come to soccer in America, and you're like, wait, it's not really translating.
Looks like a ski lift,
right? You know, so which is why for me is like in our pictures and our Instagram and every sort of thing we do, I make sure it feels like when I was at Temple playing soccer, and we literally called it the United Nations because it's like it's dudes from like Eastern Europe, it's dudes from Africa, it's dudes from York, PA. Like everyone is such an eclectic mix of people. It's like soccer in America has to reflect that, and until that happens, in my opinion, we won't really be this soccer powerhouse that we all want to be.
And it's our job to push that,
right? And say like, look, this is important. Like you can't ignore half your talent pool.
Well, like in New
You
York,
know what I mean?
if you go to like New York specifically, like Brooklyn, you go to a pickup game in Brooklyn, there's mad Jamaicans, mad Caribbeans playing. Then you go to an academy match, and you don't see those same dudes, and you don't see those dudes' kids. Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily that there's too many of the other. No, it's that I think there's more room for everybody.
Right.
And I think that's something that we're really cognizant of. Somebody made a joke last night about us at the comedy show, and they were like, oh, a Dominican and Cuban, real big soccer nations, right? And we're like hosting a soccer, but like that's what's beautiful about what we're doing. It's like we're helping, like people are like, oh, it's because you're Hispanic, you like soccer. I'm like, dog, Dominicans and Cubans? Like that's not the thing.
Right.
That's not really the thing.
You guys are big into baseball, right?
Yeah. Everyone in our family's like, why are you kicking it? Pick it up. Curveball, baby. Hit it with a bat. You know, and the truth is that, like, we're building it because we come from the inner city. Like, it's, for us, we saw it as, like, a street culture thing, and now the rest of the world, the rest of this country has it, and they will, and it's because of guys like you that are helping that along.
Right, and that's ultimately what I want to do is just like, look, you know, like, when I play pickup and when I play in leagues, it's like the dudes that I'm playing with, like there's a sort of a very eclectic mix of people. It's like, why isn't that being represented at a bigger scale on the mainstream level, if you want to call it that? Because until that happens, like you can't ignore half your talent pool either through like socioeconomics or like
absolutely
race.
Now, you ever have any plans to do like a pop-up in New York or something?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to do a pop-up. That's one of our goals for this year is to do more
We could help you with
spaces.
that, by the way. We know people.
Listen, find me a dope space and we'll like deck it out. Because,
no joke. We can help you with that.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
Okay. All right,
yeah, just because
this ain't even a podcast anymore. It's a business meeting.
Well, look, man. State property sign with Rockefeller.
Where's the dotted line, bro? Where's the pen? I'm ready to sign.
Sometimes, Petey Crack was in the studio in New York. Sometimes you got to get up there. One for Petey Crack, 2 is for LBF.
Well, Boone, I know you got to go, but dude, thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys
for doing this, man. Thank
you for the space. Thank you for the love.
Awesome. No, man, this is dope. You guys keep doing your thing, man. You guys are crushing it out there.
Thank you, man. We try.
We're big fans of you guys at LBF, and like, you guys are real. That's
appreciate
the best
it very
way
much.
to put it.
So where can people find you? Where can people get LBF clothing? Let everybody know.
So you can get our clothing on livebreathefutbol.com. We're also on soccer.com as well. Instagram at LB Futbol, that's FUTBOL, and then my personal Instagram is at Mr. LBF. So you can just find us all over the internet.
And please do that. Yeah, even if you just if you want to follow just a dope like clothing brand and just even be inspired.
See what they're doing. It's so amazing.
It's great work.
LBF.
Awesome.
You can find them. They're friends of ours. Just go through all of our friends and stuff. You'll see them. They're absolutely amazing.
Cooligans, man. Guys, appreciate you so much,
man.
Thank you.
Brother.
Cheers.
Thank you, man. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll be back.